When did the dinosaurs arise on Earth? What were some of the first dinosaurs? How and where did they live? Join us as we discover the history of the first of the mightiest beasts the Earth has ever known, the dinosaurs. Allosaurus. Allosaurus, genus Allosaurus, lived from 156 to 144 million years ago, and was the biggest carnivore during the late Jurassic period. The species are best known from fossils found in the western United States, particularly from the Cleveland Lloyd Quarry in Utah and the Garden Park Quarry in Colorado, as well as in the countries of Portugal, Siberia, Tanzania, and Germany. Of the at least 74 individual dinosaurs found at the Cleveland Lloyd Quarry, about 46 of them are Allosaurus specimens. The first Allosaurus was discovered in 1877 in Colorado and named by Othniel Charles Marsh on the basis of just a few fragments of the dinosaur. With time, more Allosaurus fossils were discovered. At first, it was named as Antrodemus, but later on established as Allosaurus. It was very confusing in the early documentation of this dinosaur. A more complete Allosaurus skeleton was discovered in 1879 by H.F. Hubble, but it wasn't until 1903, after Hubble's death, that the specimen was finally examined and turned out to be one of the most complete theropod skeletons unearthed to date. An Allosaurus gimmadseni fossil was found near Shell in Howe Quarry, Wyoming in 1991 that was 95% intact and named Big Al. In 1996, the same team discovered Big Al 2 in the same quarry, and it was the best preserved Allosaurus skeleton to date. The name Allosaurus is derived from the Greek allos, meaning different or other, and saurus, meaning lizard. What made them so different to other theropods, the walking on two legs, meat-eating dinosaurs known at the time? It appears that some of the vertebrae of Allosaurus fragilis, Latin for fragile, were concave on both sides and contained shallow cavities, giving them an hourglass shape. While making them lighter, the bones had reduced strength. The hollow space in these neck and anterior back vertebrae are also found in modern birds and believed to have contained air sacs for respiration. Unlike other theropods, Allosaurus had a pair of small horns above its eyes, which were extensions of the lacrimal bones in the skull. It also had ridges that ran along the top of the nasal bones to the horns. Aside from Allosaurus fragilis, it's unknown how many other Allosaurus species existed. Only a handful of species is considered valid at any one time, though just which species are valid is still debated. Currently, there are 4 unambiguous North American Allosaurus species: Allosaurus fragilis, Allosaurus atrox, Allosaurus gimmadseni, and Allosaurus lucasi. A skeleton of Allosaurus fragilis can be seen at San Diego Natural History Museum in California. Allosaurus likely attained its full adult size by age 15 and lived up to 28 years old. The largest specimens may have rivaled T-Rex in size, growing up to 39 to 43 feet, that's 12 to 13 meters long, and 15 to 16 feet, or 4.5 to 5 meters tall. Models of the famous Allosaurus fragilis specimen, Big Al, suggest the dinosaur weighed more than 3,300 pounds 1,500 kilograms in adulthood. Half the body length consists of a well-developed tail. It had very strong hind limbs and a massive pelvis, with strong forward and rearward directed projections. The forelimbs were considered smaller than the hind limbs, but not as small as those of tyrannosaurs. The forelimbs had 3 fingers ending in sharp claws and were probably used for grasping its prey. The skull was large and had 70 sharp, serrated, recurved and thick teeth. The bones that formed the tip of the snout, the premaxilla, held 5 teeth, while the main tooth-bearing bones of the upper jaw, the maxilla, and the tooth-bearing bones of the lower jaw, the dentary, held between 14 and 17 teeth each. The teeth of Allosaurus were 2 to 4 inches or 5 to 10 centimeters long and curved backwards to prevent prey from escaping. The teeth became shorter, narrower, and more curved towards the back of the skull. The teeth were likely easily lost during feeding and rapidly and continuously replaced. Allosaurus had a large skull, but its bite was weaker than alligators or modern animals such as lions and leopards. This dinosaur used their sharp claws to seize the prey and tore it up with their blade-like teeth. It developed a technique of getting into the most difficult body part by stripping meat from carcasses with the head pulled straight up and back. Allosaurus may have used its upper jaw to slam into its feed and then torn out flesh with its serrated teeth. It is very likely that Allosaurus fought with Stegosaurus. Scientists examined some fossils and found that 3 Stegosaurus tail spikes broke or became deformed during the dinosaur's life while hard-hitting other dinosaurs. One of the Allosaurus tail vertebrae was found with a punctured wound, like that of a Stegosaurus tail spike, whereas the Stegosaurus sustained a neck bone bite mark of the shape of Allosaurus jaws. In some fossils, it was found that the individual was less fortunate and received a fatal stab as its wounds had never healed. Apart from Stegosaurus, a single Allosaurus hunted on healthy, mid-sized sauropods or large sauropods, such as Apatosaurus, if they were sick or injured. If hunted in a herd, then even a fully grown Apatosaurus wouldn't stand a chance. It is possible that Allosaurus was also a scavenger, feeding upon carcasses of dead or dying animals. Archaepteryx. Archaepteryx lived in the late Jurassic epoch, around 150 million years ago, in what is now southern Germany. Europe at the time was still closer to the equator and formed an archipelago of islands in a shallow, warm tropical sea with a series of stagnant and salty lagoons. Coastal lagoons could be wholly or partially separated from the sea by sandbanks, shingle, or less frequently, rocks. Only 11 specimens and a single feather have so far been found in the quarries near the Bavarian town of Solnhofen in southern Germany. In 1861, Hermann von Meyer described and named Archaepteryx after analyzing just a solitary fossil feather found in the Solnhofen limestone. The specific given name was Lithographica. Archaeopteryx's name is derived from ancient Greek and means old or ancient wing or feather. It is sometimes referred to by its German name, Urvogel, literally meaning original bird or first bird. Between the late 19th century and the early 21st century, all theropod dinosaurs, the bipedal flesh-eating dinosaurs, are more closely related to birds. Archaeopteryx is considered as the earliest known avian, which may have had the capability of powered flight. However, later on, several older, non-flight-capable dinosaurs were discovered from the late Jurassic Taojishan Formation of China, dated to about 160 million years ago. The majority of specimens are from the Solnhofen limestone. One was found in the overlying Mornsheim Formation and is younger by about 500,000 years. It is thought that 1 meter of rock today represents 5,000 years of deposits. The fossils of Solnhofen are very well preserved due to the lack of disturbance from both predators and water movement. The fine-grained limestones were perfect for preserving the delicate feathers of dragonfly wings or the feathers of Archaepteryx. A juvenile specimen of a small theropod dinosaur called Compsognathus has also been discovered in the same deposit, which must have been washed in from the land. Archaeopteryx lived on land, but may have flown or glided over the water and been occasionally caught up in storms. As the wings got soaked, they were unable to take off again, and some with less strength would have drowned and sunk to the bottom of the floor of the lagoon. All known specimens were younger animals, and this could have potentially been the reason for their inability to survive the storms. Archaeopteryx was similar in size to a Eurasian magpie. The largest species of Archaeopteryx could grow to about 0.5 meters or 1 foot 8 inches in length. Despite their small size, broad wings, and inferred ability to fly or glide, Archaeopteryx had more in common with other small dinosaurs than with modern birds. They shared some features with the dromaeosaurids and troodontids: jaws with full sets of sharp teeth, 3 fingers with claws, a long bony tail, hyperextensible second toes, the killing claw, feathers that suggested warm-bloodedness, and various features of the skeleton. The claws on its wings may have been used for grasping branches or prey, although it didn't have the full reverse toes which enable modern birds to perch. However, Archaeopteryx did have a wishbone, wings, and asymmetrical flight feathers like a modern bird. The fossil of flight show an advanced stage. Therefore, it is assumed that the evolution of feathers began before the late Jurassic. Although Archaeopteryx has been a subject of controversy since its discovery, its fossil is iconic and often thought of as the missing link, that it was an intermediate form between reptiles and birds. How this fossil was so important to science shows in the race between museums to obtain the specimen. This skeleton was eventually bought by the British Museum, along with other Solnhofen fossils, for £700 at the time, which today is about £94,000 or $112,000. In 1863, Richard Owen, superintendent of the natural history collections at the British Museum, described and illustrated the specimen, declaring it a bird with rare peculiarities indicative of a distinct order. The original specimen is in the Museum für Naturkunde in Berlin, Germany, and displayed in state-of-art security in a cabinet that provides an ideal environment to preserve Archaeopteryx fossils and at the same time to allow scientists to study it. The specimen bought by the Natural History Museum in London is the most valuable fossil in their collection. Giraffatitan. In 1906, mining engineer Bernard Wilhelm Sattler travelled then German East Africa. He noticed an enormous bone sticking out of the ground at the Tengadaru, the steep hill near Lindi, in what is now Tanzania. Salter contacted many people and presented it as an attractive project. the paleontologist Professor Eppard Fraas was asked to investigate Salter's discovery. Fraas had observed that the Tendagaru layers were exceptionally rich in fossils. He confirmed that the bones were authentic and dinosaurian. Sattler joined him with a team of native miners who uncovered 2 large sauropod skeletons which were transported to Germany. On his return to Germany, he tried to raise enough money for a major expedition and managed to attract the interest of Professor Wilhelm von Branca, the head of the Geological and Paleontological Museum in Berlin. One of the curators, Werner Janensch, and one of his assistants, Edwin Hennig, were sent out to Africa in 1909. The expedition initially employed about 160 native porters, as working animals could not be used because of the danger posed by the tsetse fly. These flies live by feeding on the blood of vertebrate animals. It had taken 4 field seasons of 1909 through 1912 to open about 100 paleontological quarries. Large amounts of fossil material were then shipped to Germany. Soon it became evident that apart from Torniaria and Janenschia, other sauropods were present in the layers. Only one was the medium-sized Dicraeosaurus, a relatively common find. Most rare was a gigantic dinosaur that is today known as Giraffatitan. The skeleton recovered is still not complete, even though 5 were found. These dinosaurs had limb-bone vertebrae with a long neck. They needed to eat food to meet the energy demands, depending on whether it was a warm or cold-blooded animal. Still, the debate whether this animal was a cold-blooded or warm-blooded animal is still ongoing. In the initial years, Giraffatitans were for many decades known as the largest dinosaurs. However, recent discoveries of larger specimens prove otherwise. Giant titanosaurians named Argentinosaurus, Puertosaurus, Phytologosaurus, and Sauroposeidon are estimated to be taller and possibly heavier than Giraffatitans. It was originally named as an African species of Brachiosaurus branchi. A new scientific name was given to Brachiosaurus in 2009, when differences in the shape, size, and proportions of the bones led to the distinction between a North American and an African Brachiosaurus genus. Thus, Brachiosaurus branchi became Giraffatitan branchi. This is now the scientifically recognized name used by researchers. The meaning of their name is Titanic Giraffe. The Giraffatitan branchi lived during the late Jurassic period and Kimmeridgian Tithonian stages in what is now Lindi region, Tanzania. The Brachiosaurus had a sturdier build than the Giraffatitan, with heavy forelimbs and wider space. The size of the tail and torso, too, were larger in comparison to the Giraffatitan. While the Giraffatitan was a slender and more compact dinosaur with a giraffe-like body structure, they must have been less aggressive in comparison to deadly carnivores. These giant giraffe sauropod dinosaurs were believed to dwell in subtropical and tropical regions with seasonal rainfall and more dry climatic conditions during the late Jurassic period. This is known as the Tendagaru Formation. It is likely that these dinosaurs lived in groups and they used to search for food in another place. They probably had small brains. It had 2 nostrils high on the forehead that formed a crest. The high-crested skull of the Giraffatitan was similar to the Brachiosaurus genus, whereas tall arch-interior eyes consisted of bony nares and many other openings with front teeth were similar to the Camarasaurus. The Giraffatitan was quadrupedal with a long neck and tail. This dinosaur, known for their giraffe-like structure, had long forelimbs. It had claws on one toe of their front feet and 3 toes on their hind feet. The Giraffatitans may have been slow runners due to their heavy weight and long neck. The teeth it had resembled chisels, like spatulate teeth, which were blunt and made it easier for them to chew the different parts of plants. Giraffatitan was herbivorous and fed on different plants such as palm trees, magnolias, sycamores, and conifers. If they were cold-blooded animals, they would have consumed less compared to warm-blooded animals. If they were warm-blooded animals, then they needed to eat food to meet their energy demands. The Giraffatitan was 82 to 85 feet or 25 to 26 meters long from snout to tail, and 22 foot or 6.8 meters tall, and weighed around 48 tons, being 43,545 kilograms, which is almost 10 times bigger than African elephants. Although these animals were not aggressive in nature, this could change if they had to compete for food, protect their babies, and defend their territory. The adult Giraffatitan would have protected the herd from predators such as Allosaurus, Ceratosaurus, and Torvosaurus, but the juveniles may have had less chance of surviving. The Giraffatitan became extinct by the end of the late Jurassic period and Tithonian stage due to climate conditions and natural disasters. Predators could have also been one of the major reasons for their extinction. Yingshanosaurus. Another representative of the late Jurassic dinosaur is Yingshanosaurus from what is now China. The meaning of the name is Yinshan, or Golden Hills Reptile, and is derived from the county of Yingshan. This animal is a genus of stegosaurian dinosaur that lived around 155 million years ago. In 1983, a stegosaurian skeleton was excavated in Sichuan by a team led by Wang Zhiho. In 1984, the find was reported by Zhao Shiwu. In 1985, Zhu used the name Yingshanosaurus yishuanensis during a paleontological congress in Toulouse. His lecture was published in 1986, and it was assumed that the name remained a nomen nudum, meaning that a proposed taxonomic name was invalid because the group designated was not described or illustrated sufficiently for recognition. In 1994, however, Zhu Songlin fully described the animal. This fact escaped most Western researchers who considered the taxon invalid until well into the 21st century. The specific name refers to location of the site, Sichuan. Yingshanosaurus is a stegosaur with a double row of plates, 2 pairs of tail spines, and a huge pair of shoulder spines. What makes this stegosaur so unique is the wing-like shoulder spines, known scientifically as parascapular spines. They were 80 centimeters long and similar in shape and relative size to those of Gigantspinosaurus. Although other stegosaurs possess them, none are as large. Only the earlier stegosaurs had the shoulder spines. The more advanced types, such as Stegosaurus and Weyhosaurus, were never found with them. The shoulder spine has a large flat trapezoidal base after a sudden kink, a narrower straight shaft, flat but with a protruding ridge on the outer side, which projects to behind from the lower base edge. The bony plates on its back were rather small and relatively low, triangular or fin-shaped. The largest plates were about 15 centimeters high and with a base length of 20 centimeters, and similar in profile to those of Hesperisaurus, though of a more reduced relative size. They were not splates, i.e. featuring a thickened middle section, but almost universally flat, with a rough and veined surface. The specimen was found in a layer of the late Upper Saximeo Formation, probably dating from the early Kimmeridgian. It consists of a partial skeleton, including the fragmentary skull of an adult individual. The skull bones found are so fragmentary that they provide little relative information. Like all stegosaurians, Yingshanosaurus was a herbivorous dinosaur. It was about 4 to 5 meters, or 16 feet long. The thigh bone had a length of 67.5 centimeters, or 23.38 inches. The shin bone of 46 centimeters, or 18.11 inches. The humerus is 40 centimeters long, or 15.75 inches. 4 vertebrae of the sacrum were solidly fused to the ilia of the pelvis. The spaces between the sacral ribs being almost closed, reduced to oval depressions pierced from below by small openings, no more than a centimeter in cross-section. The neural arches are of medium height. The neural spines of the dorsal vertebra are plate-like on side view and have a transversely expanded top. Yingshanosaurus stood on 4 legs. It would look out for conifers, cycads, ginkgoeleans, and ferns to eat. These videos take a very long time to create. If you would like to support the channel and assist in improving it, then do please subscribe and give us a like, and consider joining our Patreon, links in the description.